The movie opens with Jack Bondurant driving alongside his brothers, Forrest and Howard. Jack narrates that during the Prohibition era of the 1920s, when the sale and production of alcohol were outlawed, the Bondurant brothers thrived as bootleggers in Franklin County, Virginia in 1931. Even the local sheriff purchased liquor from them. After Howard survived when his entire battalion drowned at sea and Forrest overcame the Spanish flu, the brothers came to believe they were invincible. Nothing can kill us, we can't die. Meanwhile, the cities were experiencing the worst crime wave in the nation's history. Gangsters like Al Capone, Tommy Malloy, and Floyd Banner were seizing control, raking in money effortlessly, as if picking candy off the streets. That night, the Bondurants drive to a location to deliver liquor, where a send-off celebration is taking place. Forrest instructs Jack to stay behind and guard the vehicle while he and Howard head inside. Suddenly, a man threatens Jack with a knife, demanding his money. Frightened, Jack insists he is just the driver. When Forrest and Howard return, Forrest tells the man and his friends to leave. As he distracts them with nonsensical talk, he suddenly strikes the man with brass knuckles, knocking him out instantly and scaring the others away. Howard mocks Jack, and the brothers drive off. Later that night, the Bondurant brothers arrive at a bar to deliver the remaining liquor. While there, Jack notices a young woman, Bertha Minnix, the daughter of the local preacher. The next day, at the Bondurant bar, Forrest arrives and meets Maggie Beaufort, a dancer from Chicago, who is applying for a job as their new waitress. Impressed, Forrest and his brothers readily accept her. One day, Jack witnesses mobster Floyd Banner step out of his car, armed with a Tommy gun, and unleash a hail of bullets on another vehicle, eliminating a rival. As Floyd heads back to his car, he and Jack exchange glances. Jack picks up a few spent shell casings and later visits his friend Cricket Pate, telling him about the incident and giving him one of the casings. With Cricket's help, they use his house as a front for the Bondurants' illegal activities, keeping their distillation equipment hidden in the basement. Meanwhile, the Bondurant bar receives an unwelcome visit from the local sheriff and Special Agent Charley Rakes, a ruthless enforcer working for District Attorney Mason Wardell. Rakes informs Forrest that he wants a share of their bootlegging profits for free passage throughout the county. However, Forrest refuses, threatening both Wardell and Rakes, warning the latter that he will kill him if he returns. That night, Forrest gathers the other bootleggers and urges them to resist Rakes as well. However, despite their initial resolve, they eventually give in to Rakes' violent intimidation tactics. The next day, Howard teases Jack, who storms out of the bar with a full jar of liquor. Drunk, Jack attends church to see Bertha, but ends up embarrassing himself before leaving. After the incident, Bertha's father forbids her from seeing Jack, but this only makes her more intrigued by him, and she begins to flirt with him. Meanwhile, Rakes, accompanied by 2 deputies, arrives at Cricket's house, attempting to raid it for hidden distillation equipment. When Jack tries to intervene and the agents fail to find anything, Rakes savagely beats him with his gun. When Jack warns Rakes that his brothers will come for him, Rakes responds by repeatedly punching him until he falls unconscious. Later, when Forrest learns of the attack, he scolds Jack for letting himself be a punching bag and tells him he needs to learn how to fight. Jack, frustrated, asks what if he simply can't. He's not built like Forrest or Howard. Forrest responds that it's not violence that sets a man apart, but how far he's willing to go. We are survivors, and we control fear. Soon after, 2 sheriff's deputies arrive with a warrant for Forrest. However, they are visibly intimidated by him. Before they can act, Howard suddenly appears and brutally beats them. He is about to force-feed one of them gasoline when Forrest intervenes and stops him. That night, as Maggie returns to her apartment, Rakes unexpectedly shows up and threatens her. The next day, Forrest and Howard plan to meet with potential clients from Chicago. However, that night, Howard misses the meeting, choosing instead to get drunk with his friends. Meanwhile, at the bar, the potential clients harass Maggie and pull a gun on her. She defends herself by stabbing one of them in the hand with a knife. In response, Forrest, with Cricket's help, viciously beats the 2 men with his brass knuckles before throwing them out of the bar. Afterward, Maggie tends to Forrest's wounds, and as he walks her to her car, she thanks him. Later, after Cricket leaves, the men return and ambush Forrest, slashing his throat and leaving him for dead in the snow. Sensing something is wrong, Maggie returns to the bar, only to be confronted and grabbed by the attackers. The next day at the hospital, Howard and Jack visit Forrest, who has miraculously survived. The doctor informs them that he somehow managed to walk to the hospital on his own that night. Forrest, still weak, tells Howard that he should have been there. Later, Maggie visits Forrest and tells him she's leaving. She explains that she left Chicago to escape men like them, but Forrest insists it has nothing to do with her. He urges her to stay with him and his brothers, saying that if those men are still around, she'd be safer staying close to them. Jack visits Forrest at the hospital and secretly takes the key to their liquor storage. Determined to make a big sale, he loads all their liquor into a car and sets off for Chicago with Cricket. On the way, their car suddenly stalls. Cricket forgot to fill the gas tank. Panicked, Jack scolds him, but Cricket comes up with a solution. He pours their liquor into the gas tank. Surprisingly, it works, and they continue their journey. Upon arriving in Chicago, they meet with a client, Gummy Walsh. However, they are double-crossed and ambushed by mobsters, who throw them into a freshly dug hole, preparing to execute them. Just as they're about to be shot, the mob boss, Floyd Banner, arrives. After Jack mentions he's from Blackwater Station, Banner intervenes and saves them. To prove the liquor's quality, Jack sets it on fire, impressing Banner, who agrees to buy it at a high price. Banner also reveals that he already knows about the attack on Forrest and the identities of the assailants. As a favor, he gives Jack their address and warns him that they're working for Rakes. The next day, Jack and Cricket arrive at the bar, where Forrest and Howard are waiting. Before they can reprimand him, Jack proudly announces that he negotiated double the usual price for their liquor and presents the address of the men who attacked Forrest, a gift from Banner. Later, Jack visits Bertha and proudly shows off his new camera, taking her photograph. That night, when he returns home, he discovers that his brothers have left without him. Sensing what they're up to, he drives to the address they had obtained. When he arrives, he finds Forrest and Howard already there, torturing and killing the men responsible for attacking Forrest. Afterward, Howard hands Jack a bag and instructs him to deliver it to Rakes. The next day, Rakes receives the package and is shocked by its gruesome contents. Floyd Banner becomes a regular client of the Bondurant brothers, who relocate their distillation equipment deep into the woods. Their bootlegging business flourishes, bringing in substantial profits. With his newfound wealth, Jack continues courting Bertha, while Forrest begins a relationship with Maggie, who moves into the bar for her own safety. One day, Jack decides to take Bertha to see their hidden distillation site. However, they are ambushed by Rakes and his men, who had secretly followed her. During the struggle, Howard manages to incapacitate Rakes, and Jack nearly kills him, but hesitates. Before they can finish the fight, Rakes' men force them to flee, leaving behind Bertha and Cricket, who is later captured. Rakes then murders Cricket by snapping his neck. Seeking revenge for Cricket's murder, Jack heads to confront Rakes and his men at a roadblock on the local bridge. Howard follows after him, rallying the other bootleggers to join the fight. Forrest eventually decides to go as well, despite Maggie's attempts to stop him. She finally admits that she was the one who found him bleeding from his throat wound and took him to the hospital. In that moment, Forrest realizes she must have been attacked that night as well, though Maggie insists she was not raped. A violent shootout erupts between the bootleggers and Rakes' men. During the chaos, Rakes shoots Forrest multiple times, leaving him severely wounded. However, Rakes is soon shot in the leg and tries to flee. A wounded Jack pursues him onto the bridge and shoots him in the chest, injuring him further. Howard then delivers the final blow, stabbing Rakes with a large knife and leaving him to bleed out. With Rakes and his men dead, the Bondurant brothers decide to retire from bootlegging and save their earnings, knowing that Prohibition is coming to an end. Jack marries Bertha, Forrest weds Maggie, and Howard settles down with a local woman, all of them starting families. Years later, during a family gathering at Jack's house, a drunken Forrest dances on a frozen lake. The ice breaks, and he falls into the freezing water. He develops pneumonia and dies a few weeks later. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.